For Daniel, ice cream is not just ice cream. Daniel Porter was your typical American suburban dad who worked as an accountant from 9 to 5 every weekday and spent his weekends taking care of chores around the house and spending time with his beautiful family. In total, he and his wife Kaylee had 4 children, 3 boys and 1 girl. Their daughter's name was Emma, and she was the oldest of the children. When Emma was 10, Daniel and Kaylee did what every suburban family does, well, besides shopping at Target. They decided to sign Emma up for soccer since she was a fairly outgoing and precocious girl who seemed to like playing outside and being outdoors. Every Saturday at 8 a.m. after he let the dog out, because again, what suburban family doesn't have a dog, he would wake Emma up and the two of them would race against the clock to get out the door in enough time to get to her soccer game by 9. To tell you the truth, Emma wasn't the best player in her team, but she wasn't the worst either. She was actually somewhat decent. She was quick and had great stamina, so what she lacked in skilled coordination she made up for with heart, toughness, and hustle. Win or lose, no matter what, every Saturday after the game, Daniel and Emma would go to this old 1950s retro-style diner that was on the way home from the soccer fields. Since it was usually lunchtime by then, Daniel and Emma would usually get something like a burger or chicken sandwich, and then if they weren't full, the two would get a small ice cream cone too. Daniel loved this special father-daughter time and wouldn't trade it for the world. This went on for a few years until Emma eventually got into high school, where she became more busy with extracurriculars and homework that she didn't really have time for soccer anymore. But this was alright with her since, although she liked the sport, she cared more about her other responsibilities that took up most of her time. During Emma's junior year, she started talking to a guy in her English class by the name of Derek. Derek on the surface seemed like a nice guy, and Emma and him would work together on group assignments when given the chance. Little did Emma know at the time that Derek had recently gotten out of a brief relationship with a girl that he knew from elementary school, and he just needed another girl to occupy his headspace for a little while because he feared the thought of being the only guy in his friend group without any prospects of a girlfriend. After a while, Derek finally asked Emma out, and the two had a date planned Friday night at a local drive-in movie theater. Emma was beyond excited, and would have been embarrassed to admit just how much thought she put into what she was going to wear that night after she got home from school that Friday. Derek told her that he would pick her up at 8, and so around 7 o'clock, Emma started getting ready. 8 o'clock finally rolled around, and she checked her phone to see if Derek texted her. Nothing. Well, maybe he's running late, she thought. Then 8:30 comes, and still nothing. Then 9, then 9:30, then 10 comes, and still, there's no word from Derek. Feeling crushed, Emma checks Instagram and sees that Derek is at a party with he and his ex holding hands. Wanting to get away from it all, she leaves her phone on the kitchen table and goes to her room, shuts the door, and falls into her bed, and immediately breaks out into tears. Daniel in the other room hears his wife say, "Oh no," and he comes rushing in and asks, "What's the matter?" Kaylee then shows Daniel Emma's phone, and Daniel lets out a long sigh and shakes his head. Kaylee says to him, "Do you want me to take this?" Daniel replies, "No, I got it." So he walks slowly over to Emma's bedroom door and knocks gently and says, "Emma, can I come in?" In between sobs, Emma says, "Yeah, I guess." Daniel then comes over and gives his daughter a hug and says to her, "You know, how about you and I go somewhere right now?" Emma at first says, no, she doesn't feel like it, but then she says, "Well, whatever, I mean, it's not like I'm doing anything else right now anyways." So the two of them get in the car, and Daniel pulls up to the same diner where he and Emma had eaten countless ice cream cones several years ago. They sit down in the booth in the corner and each order a scoop of chocolate with a couple of cherries. After some silence, Emma says, "I just don't get it. Like, why doesn't he like me? Am I just not good enough? Like, what's the matter with me?" Daniel says, "Nothing, absolutely nothing is wrong with you. The person who has the problem is him. The dude's either an idiot or blind, or actually maybe he's both if somehow he's not interested in you." She says, "Thanks, Dad, but I know you're just saying that because you're my dad." Daniel chuckled and said, Yeah. You know, I used to think the same exact thing when I was younger, whenever my mom gave me compliments or tried to boost my ego. But the truth is that everything she said was true, and I just didn't want to hear it at the time. Or, I don't know, I guess I didn't have the self-confidence to believe her. But come on, Emma, I really mean what I'm saying to you. I'm serious. You are such a beautiful girl, inside and out. You're smart, you're witty, you treat others with kindness, and every time you walk into the room, you breathe life into it. You're just such a wonderful girl, and it brings a tear to my eye to think about the kind of man that you'll one day marry as I walk you down the aisle. You see, the problem with a lot of guys your age is that they don't know what love is. They don't have the slightest clue of what real love is. They're only concerned about getting what they want and making themselves happy, that they never even consider what's best for the other person. Real love, true love, authentic love, the kind of fairy tale love that still exists in this world, is all about sacrifice. Am I willing to forego my own happiness, to give up my needs and my wants, if it means that I can help the other person achieve what's most good for them? That's the kind of man that will pursue you with reckless abandon and will always keep your best interests at heart. If you find that guy, you've found a true treasure, a treasure worth holding on to. Emma, holding back tears at this point, turned to her dad with a look of innocence that also was mixed with a look of someone who was maturing into adulthood, and she said, "I love you so much, Dad," with an earnestness that she had never said before. Fortunately, it was late at night, and so no one else was around to see Daniel, who was now starting to get choked up. The two finished their ice cream, Daniel paid the bill, and the two drove off in silence, with the sound of the radio playing softly in the background. When they got home, Emma gave her dad a soft kiss on the cheek, and Daniel went to bed thinking about how blessed he was to have such an incredible daughter. For Daniel, ice cream is not just ice cream.